On today's episode, I interview Paul Salter. He's a mindset and performance coach. Paul shares his journey from being a nutrition coach to becoming a hypno mindset and performance coach. He explains the power of hypnosis and how it can help clients overcome limiting beliefs. Paul also discusses common mindset blocks in high performance and the root cause of self-sabotage. Overall, the conversation highlights the importance of mindset in achieving success and offers some insights in how individuals can unlock their full potential. He shares a memorable success story of a client who overcame trauma and achieved her goals through mindset coaching. He also discusses the challenges faced by high performers, the myth of work-life balance, and the future of mindset and performance coaching. This was a very exciting conversation with lots of nuggets for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast, where we bridge the gap between the creativity you love and the CEO mindset you need. I'm your host, Nata Salvatori, wedding photographer and business educator. Find full show notes and resources at accidentalceopod.com. Let's get into today's episode. Hey, welcome back everyone to the Accidental CEO podcast. Today I have Paul Salter with me. He is, I'm going to call him my neighbor since he's in the same state and everybody I've been talking to is all over the place and all over the world. So I'm going to call him my neighbor. So welcome, neighbor.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking today a lot about mindset, just how to get unstuck. So I'm very excited for the conversation. It's something I'm really interested in. I love teaching my students about that. So I can't wait to have this conversation. So let's start with just telling them who you are today, what are you working with today, and all the things that you are doing. And then we're going to go back into the story of how you got there.
Yes, we'll definitely do some time traveling, but my name is Paul Salter. I am a mindset and performance coach, as well as a credentialed and certified hypnotherapist. And I specifically help high performers get unstuck and unlock their full potential. So who is a high performer? And that's really a simple yet complex definition to break down. And I really just like to say anyone who truly wants to be, do, or achieve more in their life, who really wants to accomplish all they possibly can, really fits under that umbrella category of a high performer. And those I work with range from CEOs and business owners to doctors, real estate agents and investors, all the way to professional athletes and even professional poker players. It's really just that combination of people who want to really achieve their best during our precious time here on Earth.
I love that. That's great, but you didn't necessarily start it there. So let's go back and tell them a little bit about just your path to from an accidental CEO to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So really my journey begins as a completely undersized, slow to hit his growth spurt high school athlete. I jokingly but seriously say when I was 16 years old, I was still 5'3" and about 110 pounds soaking wet. And the reason my story begins here is I was always looking for a way to keep up with my peers who were bigger, stronger, and faster. I played football, I played lacrosse, and everyone there is strong, big, and fast. And when you're that size and that weight, it's really a difficult challenge to keep up with everyone else. And whether it was my mother's influence or just destiny, I started to recognize that the food I ate and the amount of time I spent in the gym played a significant role in helping me to either keep up with or even outwork some of my teammates who were literally bigger and stronger than me. And that really sparked a passion and an aha moment, beginning to connect the dots with what I ate and how it influenced my performance, my body composition, and my ability to recover. So this really put me on a trajectory to pursue all things nutrition related. I went to school to become a registered dietitian, and the early part of my journey was actually working as a sports dietitian. I spent the first few years of my career working with college, professional, and Olympic athletes, helping them maximize, of course, performance, body composition, and recovery, until one day I finally woke up and realized if I was going to work 75 hours a week, I would at least like to do that for myself rather than for somebody else. So I made a big pivot at this time. I left that world to go out on my own for the first time. And I spent the next decade or so really helping men and women who were stuck in the vicious weight loss and weight regain cycle, helping them to really break free from that and not only achieve sustainable weight loss, but achieve that peace of mind, that confidence in their foundational eating habits, really cultivating a healthy relationship with food so that they could feel, look, and be the best version of themselves.
So I want to dig a little bit deeper on that transition because you're like, "Yeah, I just woke up one day and I wanted to be my own boss." But I'm sure there was a little bit more of a thought process that you went through, and even maybe some decisions and strategies that you used to make the leap in maybe a little bit more confidently than just like, I'm just going to have my own business and let's see what happens. So let's talk through that a little bit more.
Yeah, happily. So I noticed from a young age, I didn't do well with authority. I didn't necessarily do well with rules. And what I began to notice in my first ever, corporate setting job working as a sports dietitian is there was just so much red tape, so much politics, no room for creativity. And I saw various areas. I worked for a massive school company organization, if you will, called IMG Academy that services, thousands of athletes every single year. And it's like there were so many opportunities to do things differently, to improve the way we interacted and communicated with our athletes. Yet I was always met with this is how we do things. This is how we've always done things. And it got incredibly frustrating. And I was making pennies on the dollar in this position when I was literally working 7 days per week. So I reached a point where I actually just started looking for other opportunities, knowing I was going to do this while still remaining employed. So just the act of thinking about what else is out there helped me to see, wait a second, this is not the only way to do things. There are other ways where perhaps my voice is heard, my opinions are valued, and oh, by the way, maybe I would make more money. So at this particular time, I knew I was a great coach. I knew I was a stellar dietitian. I started reaching out to other coaches and coaching companies to learn, hey, do you need another coach on your team? Maybe there's a way to take this one-on-one coaching out of the corporate setting and do so more in an entrepreneurial spirit. So just the act of wanting to learn more about what was out there helped me see there is another way. And inevitably, what's funny is I reached out to a company in, I believe it was probably January of 2015, 2014, one of those years that 7 months later actually employed me as their first dietitian. And I went on to work with them for 5.5 years. So just the frustration in turning that into action helped me see that there was another way to do what I loved and to cultivate a lifestyle that was more fulfilling, both financially and, in my soul.
How scary was to make that jump financially and like going into something that you haven't done before, even though you knew the content of what you needed to be doing, like running a business is a whole separate set of skills compared to actually doing the thing that you want to do. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I was still so scared that I left my job at IMG Academy. I started doing the one-on-one coaching, but I also accepted another full-time, fully employed job. So I wasn't ready to go fully off on my own. There was a bit of a bridge there. I served as the lead nutrition and writer editor and writer for a company called bodybuilding.com for about a year and a half, while also coaching on the side. So I still had that safety net there, but I kept running into the same problems. My creativity was stifled. My ideas weren't heard or my opinions didn't matter. And again, I recognized many opportunities to improve things, and it was just met with, this is how we do it. This is the way we've all done it. So I finally did work up the courage to leave. And the funny story that I really proved to myself I could do it was before I actually put in my 2 weeks notice to go fully out on my own. I made myself go skydiving because I told myself if I could convince myself to get up in that airplane and go skydiving, if I could jump out of a plane, I could leave this company and go off on my own. So that was like my validation method to prove to myself I can do anything regardless of how scary it feels. And sure enough, I'm here to tell the story. I survived the skydiving, had a wonderful time, and would do it again. But that gave me the big confidence boost I needed. alongside getting into the nitty gritty of my finances. What was the monthly minimum amount I needed to achieve to survive, to pay my bills? How many clients did that require? And what were my efforts to achieve that number of clients every single month?
Yeah, I love that. I think there's two very important points there in your story that I want to talk a little bit more about. One is we fantasize this idea of taking that leap and, just moving into our owning our own businesses. And it's hard. It is scary. And I think it's 100% okay to have that safety net, to make the jump maybe as a small step first, and make it maybe you have a part-time job or a PRN job on the side that you can still have some more stable income coming in to help you feel at ease, and but also give you the time to concentrate on your new endeavors and your new business. I think that's completely okay. People, I think, sometimes just completely ignore that, which makes it scarier in my mind. Just it's completely okay to have that safety net as you're transitioning, but then don't stop building your confidence to take that step completely. And I think what you did, going to jump, was a good exercise. Not saying that everybody has to go actually jump off of an airplane, but doing something that scares you, even in small amounts every day, will prepare your brain and your body and your mindset to then see that you're successful. Yes, I did this scary thing. I was able to do it. Hold on to that feeling and continue to build upon that, to build your courage and build all your skills that you need to kind of actually take that jump. So I love that you accepted to dig into that story a little bit more. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And I love the point you made. And just to kind of reiterate, like, yeah, every time you can create like a micro moment of discomfort, you grow a little bit more resilient. And there's so much transferability, whether it's, in the gym during your workouts, all of that transfers into the bigger decisions, the bigger leaps you need to make outside of the gym.
So you've made a very significant pivot from being a dietitian and owner of that nutrition coaching business to becoming the hypno mindset and performance coach. What really inspired that transition, and how did your background in nutrition and sports kind of shape your approach to mindset and performance coaching?
So I've personally always been fascinated with the psychology of behavior change. If you look at my Amazon cart or my Amazon saved list that probably has 300 books in it as of today, it's all about around psychology, self-sabotage, emotionality, etc. And that was always a foundation of how I approached helping my clients achieve sustainable weight loss. I actually talked very little about nutrition, always filtered things through the lens of mindset and emotionality. So that's always just been in me. But during my roughly next decade of nutrition coaching, I took a little detour. I started to pursue playing poker professionally and took that very seriously. And
Ah.
yeah, a bit of a strange detour. So despite all of the studying I was doing, despite having a poker coach, I started to recognize that as I moved up in stakes and I played for more money, despite knowing what to do, I would freeze. I would make the passive decision. I would let my own limiting beliefs around money and what I'm worth kind of crowd my decision making. And if you have no experience with poker whatsoever, I can just simply tell you that passivity and indecision leads to a lot of lost money. It's not a good place to be. Uh, so I hired my first mindset coach. This was about 5 years ago. And not only did she help me significantly in my short-lived poker career, but she helped me significantly both in my professional and my personal life. And she helped really expose me to the first time of what hypnosis was, what a mindset coach does, and how they can help me see what I couldn't quite see at that time that was preventing me from truly playing my best and shining my brightest. So it was that firsthand experience with the power and the impact that mindset coaching had that really piqued my interest. It changed the trajectory of some of what I started studying, who I started learning from, so much that I started to recognize, maybe this is more aligned with my true calling. I was doing little bits of it in my nutrition coaching, but I wanted to go all in. So, similarly to the safety net I had previously, while I still had my nutrition coaching and my coaching community, I went all in on mindset coaching. I spent the next 6 months studying for and attaining my credential as a hypnotherapist. And I spent the next year plus, and still to this day, studying and mentoring under two of the top mindset coaches in the world, and finally reached a breaking point where I couldn't do two things at once. And I reached that inflection point that still to this day is like, wow, I can't believe I did that. It's pretty scary to walk away from 14 years of all you know, but made the decision because in my heart of hearts, I knew that was the path that lit me up. I was a bit burnt out, a little bored talking about the same thing over and over again for so many years. I wanted to feel like a kindergartner in his first day of school again, so new, able to absorb an abundance of new knowledge. And that's what choosing this new path has allowed me to experience.
Very cool. I love that. It's funny how we continue to transition to different things as we, I think, get more clarity on what we want and what excites us again. So that's exciting. So your coaching system really combines hypnosis, the subconscious reprogramming, and the mindset shift training. Can you explain a little bit more these elements, how they work together to help your clients kind of break through their limiting beliefs?
Absolutely. So I think the first place to start is to let's clarify hypnosis, because whether it's Hollywood or Las
Yeah,
Vegas, there's definitely a handful of misconceptions, if you will, around hypnosis. So the way that I
right,
define
right.
hypnosis is a deep state of relaxation with the intention to make positive change. So when I work with my clients, I'm not swinging a pocket watch. I'm not getting them to cluck like a chicken or anything like that. It's really getting them into a deeply relaxed state, which really offers two powerful benefits. The magic behind hypnosis, if you will, lies in the fact that number one, when you're in this deeply relaxed state, we're able to bypass that inner critical judgmental factor of your conscious mind. We all have that voice that says, this is a stupid idea. I suck. This won't work. We're able to sidestep all of that nonsense and really connect directly with your subconscious mind, which is home to your emotions, your beliefs, your memories, your values. And, what we're able to do from this deeply relaxed state is uncover the origin of the fears, beliefs, and behaviors that are keeping you stuck. We're able to understand why they're there, when and how they came to be. And most importantly, we're able to work to unlearn or upgrade them so that they work for you rather than against you. And I have found, and ample decades of research will support that hypnosis is a very fast, safe, and effective way to experience rapid change when it comes to letting go of negative emotions and upgrading the stories and beliefs we have about ourselves.
Yeah, I love that you took the time to explain. We've had another guest on the show that works with hypnosis, and it's amazing how you're right. There's such a misconception out there of what that means, and people are scared to talk about it. Or if they hear about it, they're like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Because loss of control is what comes to mind when people talk about hypnosis, and it's really the other way around, is regaining that control to really achieve the things that you want to achieve, and it's such a great tool for that. So you coach a wide range of clients from like business owners to professional athletes. What was the common thread that you found within those populations of like their main mindset block that you had to help them overcome?
Yeah, and that's what's so unique. Like, and I'm sure you're very familiar with this as a successful business owner. It's like that we're always told, or at least I have been by different business coaches and mentors, like niche down, niche down. You got to help this specific demographic. But in this line of work, what's been exciting yet challenging is it's so applicable to a wide range of people, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all are literally built and wired the same way. And the same applies to the collective diverse group of high performers here. We all struggle with a collection of fears, beliefs, and behaviors that are holding us back. And the beautiful thing is that all of these are learned behaviors. And when we can get to the core of when, why, and how they were learned, we can start to unlearn them. So, whether it's a professional athlete, poker player, or a business owner, there is likely, what I like to call a detrimental mindset program, or multiple of them that are running in place. And these stem from some combination of having a childhood need go unmet, not feeling seen, heard, or validated, not feeling loved, experiencing a sense of acceptance, connection, or belonging. And when these needs go unmet, we learn certain behaviors to increase the likelihood that they're met. So one common one I see amongst high performers is this perfectionism tendency. And I have noticed, a lot of research will confirm that it's very prevalent in the firstborn. So I'm the oldest of four, and I very much resonate with this. Yes. So, if you think about it from that perspective, when you are the only child, you are smothered in love by your parents or your caregivers. The moment your first sibling comes along, that attention, time, and emotion is cut in half. And for every other sibling, it is further reduced. So one learned behavior that you might acquire during early adolescence is like this need to be perfect. You're that straight A student, that person who does the best in sports. And all of this is an unconscious drive to help you get more attention back from your parents. So you feel accepted, you feel connected and loved. And at the end of the day, it sounds silly, but this behavior was born to protect you. But now as a hardworking adult, it's no longer serving you. There's a dark side of perfectionism that's holding you back, that's leading to mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion. So that's just an example of how an unmet need in childhood can manifest as a self-sabotaging behavior, and one common example I work with amongst the diverse group of high performers.
I can definitely see that. Coming from a firstborn who was a professional athlete and a straight A student. I love that. So let's talk about self-sabotage, because you mentioned that, and that's definitely, again, something that I see very often with my students. And I know everybody struggles with that to a certain degree. So very common issue for many people. Based on your experience, what is the root cause of that self-sabotage, and what strategies do you employ to help clients? So you mentioned a little bit about some unmet needs, but do you find different root causes of that for different people? Today's episode is sponsored by Accidental CEO. Are you tired of empty calendars, or worse, feeling like your revenue is capped? I've been there. The truth is, it's insanely frustrating to feel like you're doing everything the experts recommend but never seeing real results for yourself. Stop trying to follow someone else's path. Your business superpowers are completely unique from every other entrepreneur in your area. Let me help you find the key to unlock your wildly profitable business strategy. I focus on one-on-one business and mindset coaching because I truly believe you deserve individualized strategies for your unique business. It's time to get your business thriving. Check out my website for more information at accidentalceo.co. That's accidentalceo.co.
Yeah, so if we think of like a pyramidal hierarchy, so like if the foundation of our pyramid is kind of the root cause, it's typically a combination of what I call a core fear. Like we are all biologically wired to fear judgment, abandonment, and rejection, which gives way to learned fears. This is where we learn fear of failure, fear of success, fear of public speaking. These fears keep us safe. From there, we have to get to the core, like what is this fear? What story am I telling myself about this fear? Because this story is what is really leading to the self-sabotaging behavior. Because a self-sabotaging behavior is nothing more than a defense mechanism that is deployed by your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind wants to keep you safe. The only challenge is your subconscious mind is incredibly outdated and primal, as well as irrational. So really, we have to kind of reverse engineer. We want to gain clarity on what is the sabotaging behavior, what is the story that is perpetuating this behavior, or of course, we also have to acknowledge sometimes self-sabotage is the lack of behavior. And once we get clear on the story, we have to go back even further. Like, what am I afraid of? What is this story or belief I have cultivated? And what is the fear underneath it? So, in essence, we can use the common self-sabotaging behavior of procrastination, for example. Underneath that, there's a story, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of success. I'm not capable. Underneath that story is a fear. Maybe it's fear of failure. So why even try? Maybe it's a fear of success. underneath that is one of those core fears I mentioned. So fear of success could really be traced back to fear of abandonment. And one of the examples I like to give is that you grew up in a household in which maybe it was a single family income. Money was always tight. Money was talked about through a lens of negativity. The very thought subconsciously of you making a ton of money creates a lot of distance between you and your family. So that raises a real threat on a primal level. Like maybe my family will abandon me or judge me because I grew up with money being scarce. And if I'm making millions of dollars, there's a massive incongruency here. So our mind deploys several beliefs and behaviors to bring us back down to reality into our bubble of familiarity.
Yeah. How can people start recognizing things like that?
Yeah, so the way I like to make it easier is I differentiate sabotaging behavior into two categories. Number one is kind of what I like to call capital S sabotage. So these are the obvious behaviors that anybody in any part of the world would look at and be like, "Duh, no wonder you're having difficulty." This is the infidelity, the gambling, the binging, the numbing and coping with whether it's drugs, social media, Netflix, or whatever. And then there's the lowercase sabotaging behavior. This is hitting the snooze button, missing a workout, missing meal prep. This is avoiding the uncomfortable conversations, holding on to frustration or harboring resentment. These are the little behaviors that on their own may seem insignificant, but over time they accumulate to pack a massive punch. So just hearing the different types can bring a lot of awareness and help you begin to audit the behaviors that may be keeping you stuck. And sometimes I like to keep it really simple and straightforward and just have someone ask. I actually just posted about this on social media. The simple question, where in my life am I doing something so silly that it's holding me back? Like, what is the one silly thing I'm doing that if anybody else looked at what I was doing, they'd be like, no wonder you're not achieving the success that you want to be achieving?
What are some of the answers you think will come from a question like that?
Well, for me, it's spending too much time on social media, passively, mindlessly scrolling. But it could be, hitting the snooze button 3 times in the morning and not getting a head start on your day. It could be choosing to watch an extra couple episodes of Netflix in the evening, skipping your gym workouts, skipping the weekly date night with your significant other. They're little things that on a one-off occasion might seem insignificant, but the truth is they add up to pack a massive punch.
Can you share a little bit of a particular memorable success story or transformation that one of your clients have experienced through your coaching program?
Yes, and the best one that comes to mind is I had a woman who, and this is a bit sad before it gets happy. So all her life growing up, she was normal weight, inactive, unathletic. Athletics weren't her thing, and she joined the military. She got in the best shape of her life. She was healthy, she was fit, she was strong, and sadly, she experienced a 12-month period where she was repeatedly raped and assaulted. So during that time, you can imagine for the first time in her life, she was healthy, she was fit, she was strong. There was a lot more attention and eyeballs on her because of the way she looked. And her subconscious during this traumatic period of her life began to form the belief that it is not safe to be healthy, to be fit, to be strong. And after leaving the military, she went on a period of about 3 decades in which she not only rapidly gained about 40 pounds in those first 6 months after leaving the military, but she struggled mightily with her weight, her relationship with food, her will or motivation to exercise was non-existent or inconsistent. And it wasn't until through our mindset coaching work together that we were able to go back and understand just how traumatic of an experience that was for her on a subconscious level, begin to connect the dots between like why this belief formed, how it manifested into this pattern of start-stop behavior, yo-yo dieting, if you will. And through some excellent and consistent work on her end, she was able to let go of these beliefs, really to create a sense of safety in achieving a healthy weight where she felt her best. And she went on to effortlessly lose about 30 pounds in the next 12 months without any true formal dieting. And all of that thanks to just letting go of some of these beliefs, letting go of some of the big negative emotions that were costing her so much energy. And when we were able to let go of those emotions, she freed up an abundance of energy that she could now redirect towards healthy behavior change to achieve her goals.
So nice to be able to really dig deep into what's holding you back when you might think it's, I feel like at the end of the day, we all probably know what it is or have some kind of hint of what it is. But, just having somebody to talk you through it and guide you through it makes a huge difference. So the importance of coaching and mentoring again comes back to that, because there's some things there's hard to do it by yourself, you know.
Yeah, it can be scary, mightily uncomfortable to say the least.
Yeah. So high performance usually have very unique mental challenges when it comes to things that block them from moving forward. How do you help them conquer those obstacles? Is there a common one that you see with high performers?
So typically I find anywhere in the first, let's call it 3 to 6 coaching calls, there are typically one or two blocks or those detrimental mindset programs that are they're high priority number one. And I'll circle back to that in a moment. And after that, we typically go through a phase of optimization because we've gotten rid of those big blocks or we've overcome those patterns. But what I have found most is going back to that perfectionism. Number one is one of the biggest challenges that we have to learn to find a healthier balance. I like to say we have to grow comfortable living in the gray area. Things aren't always black and white. And the more we can feel comfortable to create safety and comfort in the gray area, the more we can survive. But number two, when it comes to really getting out of our own way, it's how can we continue to show up our best? One of the phrases I use a lot is play our A game, whether with an athlete or a poker player, with this self-imposed or external pressure that we feel like we have to carry every single day. So again, you can absolutely relate playing at the highest level. There's this pressure that you put on yourself, but then that is expected of you the moment you begin to taste success. And how can we let go, release the weight of that pressure so that it doesn't hold us back from shining our brightest and playing our best?
It's very interesting. I remember once I finished my volleyball career after, 17 years of playing, I remember feeling this relief, this weight getting lifted from me. And in my mind, it was the idea that I could no longer disappoint anybody. I am not Nobody's expecting anything from me anymore now. I'm just gonna go live my life. I'm gonna go work, and I know I'm gonna do my best. And just the expectations and the inability to disappoint was, a weight lifted off of me, and it was very noticeable. I remember like recognizing this feeling, and I was like, I'm not happy that I am not playing in the sport anymore. I'm happy that I'm no longer going to be looked at as somebody that didn't perform as well as it was expected. That I disappointed my teammates, that I disappointed my coach, and that was the worst feeling for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So whether it's like an athlete or I work with a good number of poker players, you win your first tournament or you win your first competition, or maybe it's the entrepreneur or business owner who has their first 6-figure year, then their first 7-figure year. All of a sudden there's this pressure like I have to do it again. Anything less means I'm regressing. Oh wait, is it a fluke? And you just go through this negative spiral of just limiting beliefs, negative, harsh, mean self-talk, and it's a very dark place to be. And being able to help someone find that different perspective, infuse or inject logic, and help them release those big emotions is what ultimately helps them to continue climbing on their upward trajectory.
Yeah, a very, very interesting concept that I feel like we forget to think through sometimes from a business standpoint. You are, that great year that you had, expecting to do that again. And if you don't, what happens? How do you see yourself? Do you start letting that imposter syndrome kind of kick in again and have to fight that all over again? So it's a constant work on mindset when it comes to running your business and just improving as a person in general. So great, great tips and advice there for sure. So your coaching career kind of started as a hobby a little bit. Where were the key steps and decisions that really help you transition your passion into a thriving six-figure business?
So initially from the nutrition end, I mentioned that passion for nutrition was born in high school, carried with me into college. But I started to recognize my freshman year of college, I was the one, for whatever reason, orchestrating and leading all the workouts amongst my friend groups. I was literally leading a group of 6 to 12 guys in the gym. And one guy asked me one day, like, why don't you become a personal trainer and get paid to do this? So that first sparked the realization like, oh yeah, why not get paid to do what I love? And fortunately, kind of that mindset has always stayed with me. And I have, ever since finally leaving my last formal employer 7 years ago, I've always been under the notion, like, how can I get paid to do what I love so I never feel like I have to work? And I try to stay with that every step of the way. So whether it's through writing, coaching, and speaking, so long as I can find a way to infuse creativity to make sure there is some financial incentive, I can continue to do what I do and never feel like I have to work, because it just feels like play and a gift every day to be able to show up and indulge in these things.
This is something that I get different opinions on, so I'll have to ask you, what are your thoughts on the work-life balance concept?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. I feel like my opinion has evolved over time. I'm not convinced there is such a thing. I think there are periods of deep work and deep rest. I also like to say deep play. But I think you to really be a high performer, and and this is not for everyone. Not everyone wants to be in the top 10 or the top 1% of their respective craft, but you have to be obsessed in some capacity. And obsession looks a little different for everybody. And of course, there's a reason Olympians don't train 24/7, 365 for 4 years. They have periods of rest and recovery in there. But I think you need to be comfortable more often than not having your foot on the gas pedal. And you need to bring those along who are closest to you in your life along for the ride. So it's your significant other, your children. It's leading by example. It's having the hard and open conversations about why you're doing what you're doing. And to be frank, you're going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Not everyone's going to be for you. You're not going to be for everybody. But I think those who truly feel called to get to the next level have, and I'm sure you can relate to this, just some type of burning desire in them to keep pushing, pushing, pushing. And it's an art through learned experiences and mistakes to find that balance. But I think it always teeters on the side of going and pushing to get where you want to be.
Absolutely. I feel like it's an overutilized concept that doesn't really come through and just generates a lot of frustration to a lot of people.
It does. And like, if it were possible to work 20 hours a week, every aspect, maybe at one point we can get there, but to like really build and get to that next level, like you're going to have to put in the extra work. Like if you want the results that the 5% of people have in the world, you've got to be willing to do what the 95% are not.
Where do you see the future of mindset and performance coaching kind of heading, especially if you consider evolving challenges when it comes to professional and personal life?
I think it's an interesting time right now. We live at a time where information overwhelm is a real thing. I mean, we can get anything from Google, from the best, cheesecake recipe to the exact blueprint NASA uses to build rockets in less than a millisecond, thanks to Google, all for free. So I think the more that we gain access to information, the more people are going to begin to recognize they don't have an information issue or a lack thereof. They have a mindset issue. I think I notice on social media now, mindset is becoming an increasing popular word. I don't want to call it a buzzword, but it's used more frequently than ever before, at least from my perspective, which I think is a good thing. But just like any coaching endeavor, when anyone is looking for a coach, they need to do their research. They need to do their homework. I ran into this all the time because early in my career, I was very protective of the fact I was a dietitian, because anybody can call themselves a nutritionist. But, I paid tens of thousands of dollars and went to school for X amount of time to be a dietitian. And there is a big difference in how I was taught, what I was taught, all of the supervised practice I did. So just like any endeavor, when you're looking for a coach or you're looking for help, just do your homework, do your research, make sure you really understand that person's background, credentials, most importantly, their experiences, how they can best serve you. Is it what you need, what you want, etc.? Because I do think mindset work is necessary for everybody who's looking to push to the next level. I think it's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I think we're looking for somebody that can combine mindset with the specific field that you're looking for, maybe even an extra step to take to really, because mindset can be and should be within any training in my mind. So finding somebody that can really relate and explain things in a way that makes sense in your field, I think it will help you even speed up that process of working through your limiting beliefs and your self-blocking and self-sabotaging kind of behavior. So for those interested in entering that field of mindset and performance coaching, what advice do you have to give them based on your journey?
So I think there's such a collection of low-hanging fruit that can really yield a strong level of foundational knowledge. Like the book that came to mind as you were sharing that is like Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. Like some of the books out there are seminal pieces of information that really help open the gateway to understanding, like, a growth mindset is such a pivotal concept when that book came out. And just beginning to understand and recognize that, I think is fantastic. So there's a collection, an abundance of books I couldn't even begin to name out there. That's a wonderful starting place. There are some incredibly valuable podcasts out there, online courses, but it really depends on the route you want to go. Like you could go, for example, the neural linguistic programming route, or NLP, going to some of those coaches. And, the way that I would recommend you pursue that path, for example, is go to some of the original founders of NLP, understand their books, their work, coaches who have been trained under them. If you want to go the hypnosis, the hypnotherapy route, there's Elliot Rowe, there is Grace Smith, there's Melissa Tiers, Marissa Peer. You want to go to some of these long-standing individuals who have been doing this for decades, not weeks, not months, to really understand their foundational approach, get the science behind things so you can truly build a strong foundation of knowledge for yourself before you help coaching others.
So, as a coach who helps others optimize their potential, what are some of the personal mindset practices and routines that you follow to maintain your performance and well-being?
First and foremost, I have a coach. That same coach I mentioned from poker 5+ years ago, I still work with her to this day. I have another call with her tomorrow. Having a coach is just so incredibly valuable. She helps me see things that I don't see, or helps me better connect dots, or infuse clarity into my thinking. She challenges my thinking, my beliefs, and my stories to help me make sure that I'm on the straight and narrow, doing what I need to be doing. So aside from having a coach, it's continuing to learn. I'm a voracious reader. I'm typically reading one or two or three books at a time. And I'm a bit strange in my reading. I read, I take notes, I make index cards. I love to learn. And the way that I learn is not only by consuming content, but then by trying to teach it to others, hence
Yes.
the podcast and newsletter, social media. But at the end of the day, the foundational elements are all kind of under that self-care bucket. There's the consistent 4 to 6 workouts per week, 3 to 4 saunas per week, the stretching, and then, of course, the sleep being perhaps the biggest secret to success, if you will. I'm very protective of my sleep as well to make sure I get what I need to be at my best.
Was sleep something that you struggled with before and learned to do it better now?
Oh yeah. I mean, I grew up very much in that entrepreneurial grind mindset. I'll sleep when I'm dead. I can get by on 4 to 5 hours a night. And then in 2020, I literally, like, every year I set a theme for the year. In 2020, my theme of the year was sleep. So I went deep down the rabbit hole of sleep, book, Reddit, forums, spent too much money than I care to admit on supplements and different approaches. I've had an Aura ring for 5 years, and finally I'm at a place where I understand my sleep needs and sleep schedule incredibly well. I know what impacts my sleep positively, negatively, and I'm able to maximize that.
That was probably a good theme for 2020.
Yes, it was. I had ample time to do it.
Perfect timing for sleep. Well, Paul, tell everybody where to find you if they want to learn more from you, if they want to utilize your services, and just read a little bit more of all the good stuff that you put out there.
Yeah, the best place would be to connect with me on Instagram at Paul Salter Coaching, or to find me on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast, the Unstuck Yourself podcast.
Very cool. Thank you so much for spending the time with me today, sharing some of your personal stories and lots of great tips for our listeners.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. It was my pleasure.
Perfect. We'll see you guys next week with another episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nata Salvatori, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.